All right, so now we're going to do speed waxing. We're going to do a half leg, and so you will see us do the back, and then we'll flip her over, and we'll do the front. I like to start my guests on their bellies when we're doing leg waxing, because if we can prep that skin on both sides, which is easier to on belly, then they only have to flip once. Otherwise, we start them on their back, we prep the skin, we do the front, they flip over, and then before they leave, they have to flip again. And so this way, there's only one flip. You've got less time for them to have an accident or have a fall or something like that, and it just makes it more comfortable for them, and also timelier to be able to get it done. Speed waxing, time is the name of the game. And so everything that we're going to show you is about the way that you can make this as quick and efficiently done as possible. So yes, we don't want to leave any hair there, but we also want to do it very quickly, very expediently. So we're also going to show what we call the cup method. You'll see me using our cups and filling from our large wax pot into the cup, and then working directly from that cup, which will also save me time going back and forth from the leg to the pot, from the leg to the pot with each movement. Even if we don't think about it and we think, oh no, it's okay, I've got some sort of special covering on the floor, each time you take that stick to the body, you are wasting time trying to be more efficient and not spreading wax strings across the floor. And so if you can stay at the leg, then it's also, I'm going to make that process about a little expediently. So we're going to go ahead and prep the leg first. I'm going to go ahead and do my satin smooth on my hands. And again, I'm going to prep the front the same time I'm doing the back. While I'm doing this, I'm also looking at the skin, right? So she has already filled out her consultation form. We know if she's got any contraindications as far as medicines or medical conditions that would keep us from being able to do this process safely. But I'm still wanting to look at the skin. We want to find out if there's any cuts or bruises, abrasions, varicose veins, anything that would make this process not safe for her. But we're also going to look and see if there's anything else that we need to make note of. And so as we go through this, we will make notes on her chart so we know what to look for things that are coming. And so because this is speed waxing and because her skin looks like it's in really good shape, I'm not going to need to lay anything else on the skin. If her skin was excessively dry, I might lay down a little bit of oil, and that oil would just create a little barrier to make sure that that skin was a little healthier, but her skin is nice and healthy, and so we can go ahead and get started. So I have my sticks laid out, I have my strips laid out. I'm going to get my cup, I'm going to get a single spatula, and I'm going to go ahead and go over to my wax pot. I'm going to just look and see what that looks like as far as temperature wise. Actually looks like it's a little thin, so I may end up adjusting that as well. And then I'm going to test the temperature of that on the inside of my wrist. And actually, it looks really thin, but it's not so bad. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that stick away. I'm going to get my small strip, lay that down, move it, and throw that away. And so now at this point, I can go ahead and get another stick. I'm going to get into my pot, and I'm going to start to lay that wax inside the pot, inside my cup, and then that way I can go straight in. And so I have not filled that up very high. You can see that this is a small cup, and I've just put a little bit in there because this wax is going to be really thinly laid. You're not getting a big chunk of wax that's coming down. We're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to hold her skin taut. And then I'm going to lay that wax across the top. And then I'm pull that down, pull that down, pull that down. Go back into that cup because again, this cup is just for her. Pull that down, pull that down, pull that down. A lot of times on the back of the leg, you see that hair really kind of moving in an obvious pattern. Her hair is pretty uniform. It's not something that you see all the time, but that's why we don't assume. That's why we go ahead and look. I'm going to also, while I have her on her belly, cover as much of this area as possible before I flip her over. And that way, once we get to the other side, there'll be a lot less room that we need to cover in that. And once we flip her over, she's already thinking she's almost done. So we want to make sure that we get her there as quickly as possible. You can see how thin this is. It really should just be able to see that skin through the wax. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and toss this stick even though I still have wax in my cup, just in case I can reuse that. I'm going to go ahead and get my strip. I'm going to start at the bottom of the leg, really kind of moving that back and forth to get that wax to be able to adhere to the strip. And then once we do that, the more wax that is on that strip, the less time we'll have to take. You can see that very parallel motion as we come throughout. And now I'm just going to try and keep working and stop talking so we can actually see the speed waxing process. Come back down. One of the things that we get from students a lot of times too is, why are we not stopping to add pressure? Well, the only reason that we add that pressure is to be able to trick the brain into thinking about the next movement. And for speed wax, because we're continuing to move up the leg, we don't have to add the pressure because as soon as you lay down that wax strip, that's the next thing that the body feels. And so we don't need to waste any other time getting the body to think about something else because we're already laying that wax. All right. And that back side is done. So we can go ahead and have her flip over. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start on the front now. Again, we're laying that wax all the way across and then we'll start pulling that down the leg. You can see where we've already been, even though her skin is nice and healthy. You can see that area that we already wear. I am pulling at the bottom of her leg just to make sure that we've got that pressure going. Go ahead and toss my cup, get my next strip, and again, starting back at the bottom, that first strip will take a little bit to just mesh that wax into the strip, but otherwise we're going to keep rolling. leg is done. We're going to go ahead and come back through with our cleanser just to use our antiseptic. Again, this is for when we pull those hairs out of the follicle. If we've disrupted any bacteria that naturally lives down in those follicles, the antiseptic cleanser will help to kill any of that. I'm going to come back through with my 4x4s and dry that. And then last but not least, we always talk about how they remember the last thing that we did or the last thing that we said to them. And so for this, we are going to end with a little oil. And this oil is to protect the skin. But if we're using massage movements, when we do that, even though we just spent a few minutes pulling that hair out by the root, the last thing that they remember is our gentle massage movements that we used when we were applying that wax onto the leg. The oil also will that we used when we were applying the oil to the leg. That oil will also help to remove any stickiness that may be left over from the wax. This is a pretty clean wax. We don't have a whole bunch that gets left over from that, but we want to make sure that all of those movements are as nice and relaxing as possible. And so that's what she remembers last, and not the pulling the hair out by the root. Thank you.